every single time we pick the tempo up against team, every time we look dangerous and look like scoring. I don't know why we don't do it. I mean, we're not managers, Dad, I get that. But pick that pace up, get that tempo going, and I have no doubt we'll cause these problems.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, with just 4 fixtures remaining in Birmingham City's EFL League One campaign this season, the fixtures come thick and fast, and Birmingham City travel to the Lamex Stadium on Thursday to take on Stevenage. Now, we know Stevenage quite well because we've played them twice already. Once in the league at home, we beat them 2-1 at St.Andrews a little bit earlier in the season, and we've also beaten them 1-0 at their place in the EFL Trophy. So in this podcast, myself and Matt will preview the game, give you a bit of information about Stevenage, a little bit of information about their current form, and maybe have a chat about who we think will be in the blue starting lineup. So Stevenage once again, Matt, but this time away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to point out before we get into the video, Dad, that sadly there'll be no post-match Stevenage video this week. You can blame me, put my hands up on that one. I'm travelling for work for a couple of days, so sadly, in the build-up to the Mansfield game, there'll be no post-Stevenage. I want to put that out there early so people don't, because there are people that do actually genuinely wait for our videos, Dad. Can you believe that? So yeah, just to let you know, there'll be no post-Stevenage. But both teams coming into this off wins, Dad. We beat Burton 2-1. They beat Bristol Rovers 1-0.
That's right. Away.
Away.
Yeah.
And I think I see Stevenage as a really stubborn team. They're quite a tough nut to crack, and I think our previous results prove that, Dad. You referenced that we beat them 1-0 away in the Vertu, and then we beat them 2-1 at our place. And I remember at our place it was a Dowell penalty, and then a really nice goal from Paik as well. And then we did concede a bit of a late goal. I think it was a typical late goal that Blues tend to concede this season, a long ball that came in, or maybe it was a corner, and then it was actually a really nice finish from the left-hand side. But they're in 14th at the moment. They're on 55 points, and they literally have no chance of making the playoffs and no chance of getting relegated. So they quite literally are now just in that mid-table, seeing the season out, really. So is their manager going to try some things? Is he going to rotate the squad maybe? Who knows what Stevenage are going to do? But from all I know, Dad, from a Blues perspective, that points record is there waiting for the taking, and I want to go after it.
Yeah, so do I. I think Stevenage are one of the better footballing teams that we've played in this league. I think their motivation will be, well, like you said, they can't get promoted, they can't get relegated. Their motivation will be, we'll just go out and beat the champions. That'll be their motivation. Our motivation is going to be to try and get more points for the points record. But I, as you said, they are the typical League One team, aren't they, in terms of mid-table team? And I think for them, the summer is crucial for them in terms of what they will do next season. In terms of are they going to be able to, change their squad, invest? I know they can't invest to the levels that we do, but that will determine whether because for Stevenage, I suppose it's quite an achievement to be where they are. I wouldn't say they're an overperforming team based upon what I've seen before this season, but for them to kick on, they would need to sort of invest, I believe. But just a few stats about them. As you mentioned, Matt, they won their last game, but in the last 10 games, they've won 3, drawn 2, and lost 5. Okay. We've won 7, drawn 2, and lost 1. In the as you mentioned, they're just below halfway, and I think that's pretty much where they're going to finish in the table. Form-wise, they're not doing brilliantly. They're sort of towards the bottom. There's only about 7 teams below them in the current form table. They've got 7 points from the last 6 games. Their home record's pretty good. They're mid-table in the League One home form table. 31 points they've got at home. Their away form is just below that, but they don't score many goals. They're the 3rd least goal-scoring team in the whole division.
But they don't concede many either, do they?
No,
generally less than other teams at this level.
Yeah, so they score 40 goals. So there's only like Shrewsbury and Wigan who have scored less than them. But as you mentioned, Matt, their defence is very good. I think when we played them at home, I think that they were either the 1st or 2nd best defence, but now they've moved down that a little bit. They're about 7th.
Still impressive, though.
They've only conceded 47 goals in 43 games. The only teams that have conceded less than them are Wycombe, Charlton, Stockport, Wigan, Wrexham, and us. So we're top of of that particular table. So clearly there's threats there, but their results. I mean, they have sort of gone off the boil a little bit. I mean, as I mentioned, in the last 10 games they've lost 5, but they're just some recent results that just to give you some context of where they are at the moment. As you mentioned, in their Bank Holiday Monday game, they beat Bristol Rovers 1-0 away. Now that was a good result because Bristol Rovers, like we played Burton, are right in that relegation scrap, and you could argue that Stevenage have got nothing to play for. So to go away with nothing to play for and beat a relegation threatened team, I think is good.
They're also I think they're the only team in the league to do the double over Wrexham as well. So
Okay.
they beat Wrexham home and away this season. So that I think again stuff like that can't be sniffed at.
Yeah.
Solid team.
Well, you're right. They've beaten Wrexham 1-0 at home and 3-2 away. They've beaten Charlton 1-0 at home. They've beaten Stockport 2-1 at home. Beaten Barnsley 3-0 at home.
Good
So
team.
so they have got some there's some good results in there for them teams. But recent results are Bristol Rovers their last game. They lost 3-1 at home to Blackpool prior to that, and they lost 1-0 at Wickham prior to that, and they beat Crawley 3-1 before that, and then losses 3-0 to Stockport away and 1-0 to Leighton Orient. They've played some top teams. So in that batch of results that I've been mentioning where they've been losing, they have been playing some really good teams, and obviously they drew 1-1 with Reading, and before that 2-1 against us. So I don't think you can. I wouldn't say you can ignore those results because they're against good teams, but even though that they register as losses, they've been playing some top teams.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're a danger. But
They're a solid League One team on that, and I remember you talk about pushing on, and it's a fair point with where they are now. But actually, Dad, last season or the season before under Steve Evans, they only just missed out on the playoffs by 1 position. So they are genuinely a very solid League One team. I think if they are able to invest, I think their next step up as a club would be to be in and around that playoff.
That's the key, isn't it?
Playoff position, but you've got to crack on now.
That is the key,
move up,
but with respect, this is Stevenage. They haven't got the biggest crowd, and they haven't got the biggest fan base, and I think that the investment is often proportional to that.
Of course.
So it's with these types of teams with Stevenage, it's about getting young players and identifying talent. A little bit like Peterborough do. They identify talents, they make them good, and they sell them on.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Stevenage need to do. Just a few strengths. Now they're very good at protecting a lead. So what you don't want to do is concede first against these because that is something that's classified as very strong. So when they get a lead, they know it's a whole. Because defensively they do look pretty solid as well, don't they? As we've already spoken about. They like attacking down the right, and they are also a possession-based team as well, so they like to play in the opposition's half. They do take long shots, but they do play long balls as well. So I think we saw that a little bit against us, where a lot of teams do that against us. They realise that they probably are going to struggle against our midfield, so they just bypass it. Just a couple of weaknesses, and interestingly, they haven't got many weaknesses. Finishing scoring chances and keeping possession. I've contradicted what I've said. Actually, keeping possession of the ball is actually a weakness for them. Right. So even though they like playing the opposition half, they sort of will give up possession, but they're not great at finishing scoring chances either. So some good. Good characteristics for them there.
I've always seen Stevenage as a defence-first team, and that is not a negative at all. Some teams just like to put their defence first and then do counter-attacks and catch you on the break, step pieces, be direct when they do get the ball, bypass the midfield, all these sorts of things. And Stevenage fit that bill perfectly. But they're very good at it. They're very good defensively. That's why I said that in my first sentence. They're a stubborn team.
Yeah.
Because they're hard to break down. And that's credit to them and the way they set up, to be fair. But I'm just going to reflect on the game at St.Andrews, because I think it's a good marker of what we might be in for on Thursday. And I remember it really vividly. It was a game of pressing. So they pressed us really well, actually, Stevenage, during times, but we pressed them even better.
Yeah.
And we were forcing them into silly throw-ins, silly corners. We were forcing them into really silly errors, to be fair. And I think when you put the pressure on Stevenage, and with our energy levels and our pace up front and the way we do suffocate teams, we can force teams like Stevenage into making errors. And we did do that at St Andrews, but we only won by 1 goal at St Andrews. And I thought they were pretty solid, actually. When you look at League One teams, Dad, in the first 5 minutes what they're about, don't you? Sometimes teams, a lot of the time teams time waste. They're going very direct. They bypass the midfield. You can tell what kind of team you're going to be playing. Whereas I genuinely see Stevenage as quite a compact, solid team that are difficult to break down. They're defensively solid, and I've no doubt they're going to be doing that at home against us on Thursday. But again, similar strengths that you've picked up on, Dad. Very good at right side heavy, long balls, long shots, set pieces. Standard League One criteria for a good team, isn't it? I feel like now that we've been here for a season, and we will be in the Championship next year, a lot of the positives that we highlight for teams are quite common across the board.
It's like a DNA in League
Yeah,
One, isn't it?
yeah.
And I think that's because that's what teams in League One have to do because of the. I wouldn't say the players are bad, but the.
No, they're more physical than technical, though.
Yes, that's it, and that's the reason as well. Like you mentioned, Matt, we've played them twice, and both games have been close.
They have.
So they've only won by 1 goal. In the EFL Trophy, Stano came on as a sub and scored late on, and St.Andrews only by 1 goal. There are just a few players to mention that could be a threat. Dan Kemp is their highest scorer at the moment with the attacking midfield with 10 goals. Jamie Reid, centre forward with 7. Jordan Roberts, a left-sided midfielder with 4. Elliot List, the right wing. I was impressed with him when he played them. At St Andrews. Elliot List, he's a right winger. He's got 4 goals, and Carl Piagiani, who's a centre back. He's a big centre back. He scored 3 goals. Assists. Dan Kemp's got 4. Jamie Reid's 4. Eli King has 3. Harvey White 2. Louis Thompson 2. They're not prolific in goals, but they have got threats, and as you mentioned, it's the press that gets them there. I think they put teams under pressure.
They do, and
that's what we'll need to be aware of. That they do what we try and do. If you know what I mean,
they try and do what we do.
Yeah, exactly. So, in terms of a system, Alex Raval favours a 4-2-3-1, so it's pretty much same as what we do, isn't it? So that's going to be like for like. And I think this game really, it's all about the press. I think from Stevenage point of view, they'll want to beat us because we are champions. So there's every possibility that this could be another game where we'll grind out a result and try and win the press.
The battle of the press.
But I think that's what you could call this, the battle of the press. This game as well. But
what I will say, Dad, is it is just an observation. But I think majority of Blues fans agree. It's not necessarily a negative, but it is something. When we go forward, we need to be more impactful when we have the ball in the opposition's final third, and you definitely need to do that against Stevenage. You cannot afford to be pedestrian in your passing. Side to side slowness. We need to be direct in the manner of quick passing. Going at them aggressively, and I think if you don't, Stevenage will just put the barriers up, and you're not going to get past them. So we have to be clever. We have to be quick.
Just speed up the tempo a little bit, particularly in the final third.
I don't know why. Every single time we pick the tempo up against team, every time we look dangerous and look like scoring. I don't know why we don't do it. I mean, we're not managers, Dad, I get that. But pick that pace up, get that tempo going, and I have no doubt we'll cause these problems. But if we go into the pedestrian side-to-side style, we're just going to get stuck in this boring 0-0 kind of game, I think. But I think this is going to be a game a bit like Burton, a bit like some of the games we've seen this season, where this is going to be a grinding out result time, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. So should we go to the Blues team?
Let's do it. I think it's my turn to be the boring one.
Yeah.
Defense.
Well, you say boring, but with squad rotation, you've got really no idea. So it really is like plucking a team really,
it is,
because we've got no idea what Chris Davies is going to do here. But if this was a game where we needed points, I think we would have a more of a solid structured team.
Yeah.
But I think there could be rotation again. So do you want to go to the back line?
So, Dad, in the pre-video for Burton, you mentioned and you plumped for Jae Mung Lee. Is that right?
Yeah.
Jae Mung Lee.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to... Well, I think I'm going to plump for him again in the interest of Chris Davies' statement saying rotation. He's probably going to start with Cochrane, but in the interest of making it a bit more interest on the video, I'm going to go for Allsop in goal, Mung Lee left back. I'm going to go for Hanley and Clara again centre half. I don't think Hanley did anything necessarily bad to warrant him being on the bench, and he might want to give Chris Davies, Ben Davies, a rest for the Mansfield game at the weekend. So just to repeat, Allsop in goal, Mung Lee left back, Hanley and Clara centre half, and I've gone for Samstead on the right back.
Yeah, he's resting players, but obviously we've only got a couple of weeks left of the season, so I've gone for Allsop in goal. I think that's just a taken as that will definitely be. Laird was rested, wasn't he? Was on the bench. I'm going to go for Samstead again, but I think he did well. He scored a goal. He deserves his place, so I will go for Samstead at right. But in the centre, I think that against Burton, obviously Ben Davies was rested. Hanley came in. I'm going to go for the reverse this time. I'm going to give Clara a rest.
Okay.
So I'm going to go for Hanley and Davies in the centre, and then the right. I've also gone for our friend as well, Mung Jae Lee. He wasn't even in the squad against Burton, which was a bit of a surprise, given that he hasn't played any games at all apart from when he came on against Crawley. So I'm going to give him a start.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do.
Okay.
And so we got a very similar back line. Apart from I've gone for Clara being on the bench.
Yeah. By the way, I would love to see Clara on the bench in terms of having a bit of a rest. But I just think he's so invaluable.
Yeah.
Chris Davies is going to pick him every time, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, why not? It's the time of season. I mean,
Give him a rest.
it's a real double-edged sword, isn't it? That you got the points record. I want a full strength team. I want to batter everyone and get the points record. But then also, actually, we are champions. You know, some players deserve to get some minutes on the pitch. So where's the line between going for that real crucial clinical win, but then also
it's a lot
rotating
to ask
the
a
squad?
player, isn't it? You know, in the space of a couple of weeks, Burton, Stevenage, Mansfield,
It's a lot of games.
Blackpool,
Yeah.
Cambridge. So I think that players will need a rest. So give Clara a rest in this one, in my opinion. Put him on the bench, and then he's fresh for Mansfield.
And also, our second string is outstanding. I say second string. I know people don't like that term, including yourself, Dad. But if you look at our more players inclined to sit on the bench, that sounds like a really silly way of putting it. But if you look at players who haven't quite made the first team this season, Dad, they're still quality.
Yeah.
So even our players on the bench should be able to step up and beat teams. So this is what we talk about when we say use the squad, use rotation.
Now's the time to do it, Matt.
Now's the time, I guess. Yeah,
now's the time to do it. Give these players the opportunity to show Chris Davies what they can do, and and then rest up some of the players that you can. But I think the back line will be interesting. But going to the rest of the team, and this really is a sort of a finger in the air type of it,
This is blindfold darts at a ball, isn't it?
Well, Anderson was rested or on the bench, wasn't he? So was Pake against Crawley. I'm going to go for Anderson back in the starting lineup again.
Yep.
It gives us something different. When he comes on, you just feel a bit more, we've got more. There's much more, of a threat with him in the side.
More dynamic, and we go forward because he actually takes his man on.
Yeah, I prefer him on the left. I prefer him on the left, but I'm going to plump for him before he starts on the right.
Right.
And I'm going to go for. He started with Pake on the bench, so I'm going to give Water a break. I'm going to go for Leonard and Pake in the middle, Anderson on the right, Stansfield on the left, with Dowell in the number 10 and Alfie May this time. I'm going to leave Williamson on the bench. Although Williamson had a good game against Burton.
Yeah.
But that's to give Williamson a break, because Williamson's had a lot of football. He's been picked for for last number of games.
Yeah.
But that to me, I mean, it could be any combination of that. I mean, Taylor Garden-Hitman didn't do anything wrong, by the way. He could easily start on the left again. Instead of Stansfield.
So actually, I've given Water and Pake a rest. So I've gone for Leonard and Taylor Garden-Hitman in the two centre
that's possible as well.
So I think Taylor Garden-Hitman might shift into the centre. No, we all love Taylor Garden-Hitman, right back, left wing, centre mid. Stick him anywhere and he'll give you a solid performance. I think his best position is the centre mid.
I agree with that as well, because I don't. I mean, he'll wherever you put Taylor Garden-Hitman, he'll put 100% in. But I don't think he's that effective on the left.
I agree,
because he did okay against Burton, but he weren't. He's not the dynamic type of player that's going to. But he's more of a battler, Taylor Garden-Hitman, isn't he?
Exactly.
Whereas Keshi is more of he will go past players.
Yeah.
So I don't think that his best position is not the left. Not that he doesn't seem majorly wrong, but
no, he doesn't.
We've got more effective players in
and that's worth stating. Taylor Garden-Hitman doesn't do anything wrong on the left or the right when he's there, but we have better players who are actually naturally left and right.
I agree.
wingers.
We haven't seen him very often in that position. I'd like to see him there, actually, in the central midfield.
But he still puts his all in. He's still a great player. So coming back then, I've gone Leonard and Taylor Garden-Hitman in the two centre mid positions. Same as you did. I've gone Keshi on the left. I've gone for Luke Harris on the right. And I've actually gone for Williamson in the 10, only because he had a good game against Burton. So Chris Davies might want to keep that momentum of form going. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Dowell in any of these positions as well. And then I've gone for a Stansfield rest as well. But we could see him on the bench coming on and making an impact if it's a bit of a stalematey kind of game. Yeah. And I've gone for Alfie May up front as well.
I'm not resting Stansfield. Stansfield's on my left.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
But you are right. But it could be any combination of those. And it's good that we've got the squad to be able to do these and have these options, isn't it? And it shows you the variety of things that Chris Davies could do. So I think we will see rotation, and it'd be good to see some of these other players coming in and having a go, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
So what about score prediction then? You can go first.
So, Dad, I think this is going to be a repeat of the game we had at St.Andrews and also the game we had on Monday as well. I've gone for Stevenage 1, Birmingham City 2.
So have I.
Yeah.
That's what I think as well. I think we know it's going to be a tight game. They will obviously press us. And they have got the ability to score goals. So, but, not a major threat, but they have got some pacey players. But the press is what could do us and what we could think we could potentially concede. So I've gone for Stevenage 1, Birmingham 2 as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. So any final points?
No, just I'm looking for. This sounds negative. I don't mean it to. I'm looking forward to ticking these games off now. Get into that final game of the season, resetting over the summer in the Championship. But in terms of the short-term goal, Dad, I want that points record. I want us to win this game, and let's go at them.
Yeah, me too. So what do you think, Birmingham City supporters? Let us know, as always. Let's have your comments below. And let us know who you think will be in the starting lineup, your score predictions, anything that's on your mind, put it in the comments below. If you're a Stevenage fan, if you come across our podcast, and we welcome comments from supporters of the opposition teams as well, so please add your comments below as well. If you did like this podcast, then don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, then pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you'd like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll also find us on there as well. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all of these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed already and you'd like to, then press that big red subscribe button. And if you want to press the bell icon next to the subscribe button, you'll get notifications every time we put a new podcast out. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.